Hi, welcome to NDE TV. I'm Peggy Robinson. Today's guest is Bernadette, and you're in Canada?
Yes, I am Peggy.
Okay. And you're going to tell us about your spiritual experiences, correct?
I will be. And before I start, I want to say thank you so much, Peggy, for giving me the opportunity to share, even though I haven't seen the light, right?
Good.
Because I find that some channels don't allow people like me to share with spiritual awakening, which is also having connection to the other side as well.
Yes. And if somebody was to ask me, what was most important in my life, my spiritual experiences or my near-death experiences, they're all like glimpses into heaven, glimpses into God, glimpses
Mhm.
into the other side. And sometimes we don't
Mhm.
have to be near death for God to give us that insight. And I believe you were kind of
Mhm.
born with an awakening, like born psychic. So when you want to
I
start
was born
there?
open as a child. Yeah, sure. Yeah, I was born open as a child. My first memory was seeing my grandfather standing. I didn't know whether he was dead or alive. I just learned as I got older that he had passed. You know how many people are saying, and parents, that kids can actually see more than adults because they're not quite closed spiritually. That's what happened to me. I saw him just standing there, and I turned again. He was still there, just in shadow form, and I was one of his favorite grandchild. I didn't know him too much, but I felt that seeing him when I did was very comforting for me to see him. And growing up in Haiti in an orphanage, with voodoo being one of the main religions there, I would hear and see lots of different things.
You grew up in a
Hmm.
Haiti orphanage? Is
I
that what you
did,
said?
yes,
Now, how old
yes.
was you when, or do you know, when you saw your grandpa?
Oh, wow. I must have been, could have been 5 or 6. I know I was
Okay.
very young.
How old was
And
you when you
that,
went to an orphanage? I'm sorry.
yeah, I was probably 10 or 12 when I
So you
went to
remember
the
your
orphanage.
family. Okay.
I do. I'm still in contact with my bio family. Um, but it was hard, to eventually get in contact with them. But growing up in Haiti, my mother was my role model, and she would work 2 or 3 jobs just to provide for me and my siblings. And Haiti is a rough country. Obviously, you see what happens in the news with all the earthquakes happening, but the news only shows so much. They can only show so much, but it was rough. But having my mom there and supporting when she did, it was very. It's like a role model. She did everything she could. Now I have kids. I can pass on that same love to my kids.
How did you end up in
Mhm.
an orphanage?
My mom knew someone's friend. It's kind of a long connection, who had an orphanage, and she was struggling to provide for us, right? To send us to school and to feed us. And I know now it was a very, very hard decision for her to make as a mother. No mother wants to give away their kids. Maybe the person can know where their kids are going, but me as a mother, that would be hard. And I knew it was hard for her.
And you say she worked
But
two,
that,
three
yeah,
jobs. I mean, surely, I mean, she was trying.
she did. She did everything she could. And my father wasn't really there at all. He was very abusive towards my mom. Very young, I would witness things that a toddler shouldn't witness, things that a child shouldn't witness. Um, he'd beat my mom in front of us and slap her, just unimaginable crime that
How many
he
kids did she
didn't.
have?
There's 5 of us, but my father had affairs with other women. Um, I know two of my half siblings. The rest, I don't know how many there are.
So you
On
were
my
about
father's,
10. And
yeah, I
where were
was.
you
Yeah.
when she gave up? She gave up all five kids at that time?
There's four of us that went because my older brother was too old. Um, but the three of us, me, my brother, and sister, we went to the same orphanage. And then my younger sister, she was a triplet from, she's my half sister from a different father. Um, she also went to a separate orphanage because she was a baby when she got adopted to Belgium.
She was
But
a
it was
triplet?
she was, and unfortunately, two of them didn't make it.
I
Uh,
mean, like at childbirth?
yes,
Oh,
yes, yes. And I don't have too much memories other than what my mother would tell me about her. But I am very happy to say I'm in contact with her. She's about 19 and she's in Belgium. And she always asks me what were the names of my sisters that passed and what happened. I said, I don't know. I can only give what my mom told me. But yeah, she's doing great.
and so she was adopted.
She was, yes.
How long were you in the orphanage?
I think I was there for ooh, five plus years.
What was that like?
It was hell and heaven on earth, to be honest, because in the orphanage, there were not only spiritual attacks, I would say. When we were sleeping, I would hear footsteps and everyone was sleeping. That's what I mean when I say I was born open. The things I would hear and see, not everyone would believe me. We would hear things. And I just recently learned that I've had, what is it called? Sleep paralysis my entire life. I think that's where it started in the orphanage. And I can say it's terrifying for anyone who has experienced it. But in the orphanage, it was hard. And there were um, sexual abuse in the orphanage as well against the kids, myself included. I'll speak
By
for
staff
myself.
or older children?
Um, by the owner of the orphanage. But some of the staff were nice and some of them not so much.
The owner
So it
of the
was weird.
orphanage sexually abused the children.
It was. And the thing that kind of angers me as an adult is that there could have been way to prevent and protect us. Um, I know every country has their own guidelines of what's okay and what's not okay when it comes to adoption, or who can take kids out of the country or have access to kids. I don't feel that we had that type of protection that we needed. Yeah.
Was the owner a male, I'm assuming?
He was married and he was doing that. I don't know if the wife knew or not, but
Are we
he
talking rape of the girls?
um
Or are we talking
from
molestation?
molestation. I'll speak from my own experience because I don't know what happened when I wasn't looking or when I wasn't there, but just molestation and just touching the kids or forcing them or giving them candy or money to do things. Yeah, yeah. And
Did the girls discuss it? Did the
did they what?
girls did the girls discuss that they were being molested?
Some of them, but you know what? This kind of topic is taboo in my
It
culture.
is.
I don't know if it
It
is in
is.
other places. I find that it is where I am, but when people speak about it, there's a layer of shame that is put on people just for opening up, just for speaking about
And
it.
that's how they get by with it, isn't it?
Yes, yes. And it angers me still, you know, it's like I needed help, I needed protection, I needed someone to be there to just grab me, to pull me to safety of all of that. And I know I'm not alone. I'm not the only one that this happened to. and I'm not the only one that it's happening to. And my heart goes out to anybody who has experienced any type of sexual abuse or molestation.
I mean, you're fairly young. Is that orphanage still open?
I think it is. I I went back 2 times, and surprisingly, when I went back, I also experienced some type of harassment by the new guy that was there.
So you
It
were
was,
15 when you left and come back.
yeah, and I came back a year after, or after
Was
I
you
came.
adopted or something?
Yeah, when I was adopted by a Canadian family. Yeah.
And it didn't work out?
No, it didn't. My story is it's blissful and it's painful. The wounds that have been open, they might take me my whole lifetime to heal. So what
What
happened
happened?
is
Yeah.
I'll speak for myself, right? I can't speak for my sibling because it's similar but different. So they adopted us. They brought us to Canada,
Oh, somebody
and
adopted you three, you and your two siblings together.
the three of us, yes, they wanted to
Okay.
keep us together, which was great. I was so
Yeah.
elated to come with them, to be with them, and to have a piece of home with. But what happened? They brought us to Canada, and a year or so after, there was abuse in the home. And my memory is so vague. I will try to pull out what I remember. I remember us being locked in a freezer room. There was no food, the three of us. Verbal abuse. I don't recall physical, but that type of abuse. And then another few months passed. We learned that my mother, my adoptive mother, was diagnosed with a brain tumor, and she went and got that removed and was getting treatments. And
I'm sorry,
just
I have
at
to go back. They put you in a freezer room?
yes,
Your adoptive parents did?
yes, as a form
Yes.
of punishment.
Gosh.
Yeah, it's like I come from hell, and then you know, and it just it still angers me, but
How long were
I've
you in
learned
there?
sometimes half an hour or 20 minutes, and it
Oh,
wasn't
this is a
just me, right? It was
regular
me and my
punishment.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Unfortunately, there's not everyone should adopt kids. I'm gonna
I'm
just say
finding
it straight out.
people are doing abuse to where they don't leave marks. And
Yes,
so I
yeah,
can, yeah,
hmm,
believe that. I mean, of course I
yeah,
believe you anyway, but I mean,
yeah,
I've been hearing things
yeah. I'm
about,
not against adoption, but I am begging anybody who's watching this, if you're looking into adoption, do your research and make sure you're ready to take care of a child or kids, however many you're adopting, because those kids, they deserve the best and not to be abused or manipulated or take control of in any way. Yeah, but
and kids can't go from, I mean, they do, but I mean, I'm saying they can't go from a home life where your mom's trying to take care of you to an orphanage 5 years, 10 years you were in the orphanage, was it?
yeah, yeah,
And then in a home and expect to act like a normal child.
yeah,
You're
yeah,
gonna have problems. We're
mhm,
human beings. And when we
mhm,
start to heal, that's when our behaviors come out. And parents need to know, adoptive parents need to know how to handle those. They just don't give enough resources. As someone who's adopted 10 children myself, and I've had 60 foster kids in and out, and you get those problem children when they're foster, you can call, come get them. I can't handle this. But when they're
mhm,
adopted, you have no help for some. I'm not saying you have bad behaviors, but I mean, all kids have behaviors. But when they're adopted and you didn't raise these kids and then there's no help, but
mhm.
freezer's not an option. So I'm so
No,
sorry.
no, I've also been in the foster care system, and there was abuse there too. Like it's just from adoption, and then the foster care. I feel felt let down by uh, authorities and by the system, because I don't know, I didn't speak the language. I didn't know what I was coming into. And then I just obeyed and listened. And that's what happened.
And I think too, maybe kids, older kids have a different idea of what's going to happen when they're adopted.
Mhm.
And I know we had a sibling group of 4 come time for him to be adopted. And as soon as we left the adoption hearing, the oldest one, who was 12, said, I don't feel like I was just adopted. And all of a sudden she started rebelling. And we'd never had any trouble with her. I think she had some kind of idea of things would just be miraculously wonderful once the adoption was, and we're just still the same old family. You know, we had 9 kids, all adopted. And, you know, some of them's not gonna get along, and sometimes you're
Yeah.
gonna be told no, and sometimes you're gonna get grounded, and so she just started that, then she started this campaign like to try to ruin our family. And, you know, and then it's nobody's fault. It's just like this, you know, perfect storm. But that is
Yeah.
somebody's fault when you stick children in a freezer. You know,
Yeah.
that is
Yeah.
not okay in any, you know, and I'm not
I
saying that
agree.
you have behaviors. I'm just saying sometimes parents don't, you know, they can been perfect people and not understand how to handle any behaviors
Mhm.
and
I
didn't realize
agree.
they're not perfect people. And
Yeah.
they're not,
Yeah.
you know, because, yeah,
And I think, like you just expressed, with that child behaving the way he or she did, trauma doesn't remove itself just because we move. It
yeah,
follows us,
yeah.
and it's in us, it's part of us until we can process and work it.
You
I
don't
was,
have words to say
yeah.
how you're feeling.
And kids, they don't know how to express trauma, how to process pain or suffering or neglect or abuse. They don't
Right.
know. I might have an idea as I mature. Adults do, but kids, they don't know. And them behaving or expressing certain behaviors, that's them possibly asking for help, or they just can't express it properly. But yeah, I agree. Adoption should only be for those who can handle it. And another thing that happened too, while we're in this topic, my adoptive cousin, she was adopted to my mom's sister, so in Canada as well. And they, she would burn her pictures or tear them or remove any mark of her past or her family. So when my mom got sick, I went to live with her, and that's what she tried to do with me. I wasn't allowed to talk to my any birth families or people in Haiti. Anything had to be removed. She removed it all. There was nothing, no connection. And I've shared my adoption story on my podcast for anyone who's interested to, just in details um, of how much it can hurt a child, even as a grown adult. I feel like I'm a broken little girl. I'm still putting pieces together. I've had kids of my own. I'm still learning how to love, because that wasn't always expressed to me in a healthy way.
Well, I'm 62, and I'll tell you, it's a lifelong process.
It is,
Even when
absolutely.
you're raised with your abusive parents, it's still a
Hmm.
process, because you're not going to be like everybody else. You're not going to have the same background. They're not going to understand where you're coming from. And
Hmm.
you kind of
Yeah.
live your life alone, no matter, you know, how many people you surround yourself with, because
Hmm.
your problems are unique for you.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely is. And it's not easy for sure. And my goal is to advocate for the voiceless, even though they can speak, but not every word is understood, even though it is told it is. There are so many kids who have gone through what I've gone through, and who are unfortunately and sadly still going through that. And it breaks my heart every day. And I always ask God, creator, whoever you are, who you create those beings, just protect and bring peace to them. That's always been my prayer every day, just to bring light. And yeah.
Yeah. I just recently read part 1 of my memoir, and on my channel, and a lot of it's about, you know, growing up abused and neglected and sexual abuse. And I noticed this one thing I kept repeating was I had no words. You know, when it come time to tell, even when judge would ask what's going on, I had no words. And even as I got older, I still had no words. And when I finally had the words, nobody wanted to hear it. That's in the past. You need to get
Mhm,
along with your family. Nobody wants to hear this stuff. It's
mhm,
ugly. It's hard to hear. Or if they've heard it once, they think they should never have to hear it again. It should never come up in my emotions. And
mhm.
so, yeah, when you do have the words, then there's no ears.
Yes, yes, that's very true. It's interesting you brought that up because I just interviewed someone on my podcast. This person experienced sexual abuse as a child and brought it up to the parents. They didn't believe him. They said just man up or woman up. They didn't believe him. And when a child has been through something like that, they go to someone they love, someone they trust, someone who should hear them out, someone who should protect them at all costs. Say, I don't believe you. What does that do to a person? And they wonder
Yeah.
why people behave the way they do, right? There's every tree has a root. Every single tree has a root. And until we go to the root, we go deep, it's just gonna be a mess.
And when I used to be a child abuse investigator, we're always telling kids, you know, keep telling until someone listens. And then I got thinking about that as I grow and I want to talk my own abuse. I thought, well, I'm going to keep telling until somebody listens. You know,
Yes, yeah.
eventually you find a listener, somebody that you can share with.
Mhm,
And you just
mhm.
have to keep telling until you find that person.
I am so happy you keep telling, Peggy. I started listening to your book, by the way. I had to stop because my kids interrupted me. But um, yeah, you drown as a little girl.
Mhm.
I've been getting lots of visions of past life regressions. I drowned, and the vision, apparently I spoke to God. My friend who's a medium told me. I just saw myself falling in a lake. It was deep and dark, and I was just laying on my back, and I was just looking up, air coming, bubbles up. And then I asked, "Why did I die here?" And he said, Because you chose to." And that was it. I still don't understand the full meaning of that past life, but I can sort of say I can relate to drowning, um, or just drowning in general in
You
society.
know, when I listened back to me reading, that's just part one of what I read. It's 4.5 hours, but it's just part one. But and I stopped there. But I realized later that when I talked about the rape when I was 16, the almost rape, that it was similar to my drowning. The struggle. It was the words I was hearing describing my drowning, and then later when I was listening to me describing the rape, I was like, my gosh, it felt so similar. And the emotions
Mhm.
and then and being kidnapped and held against my will. It was like these are so similar, you know, to the drowning, to be screaming and no one can hear you, to be
Ooh.
stuck in a situation and you can't get help. And like
Mhm.
there's like it's reoccurring. And it seems like there's, I know I'm going off on this tangent, but I seem like there's so many significant things in our life that are reoccurring events in just different forms.
Mhm. Mhm. I agree.
And
Yeah, I spoke to someone today. She does ancestral trauma healing, and she does it through yoga and many other methods. And what we spoke about is that trauma has memories. It may not still be here if it's in the mind somewhere. It's somewhere that's very, very hard to get to, but it's there. It's like having a wall. You kind of know what's there, you can hear it, and it's there. Um, the memories we have, we don't only remember them, we feel them. So I can definitely relate and understand how you feel, the way you express it.
so
Yeah.
what happened when you went back to the orphanage after how long was you adopted?
I think it was 2 or 3 years after that.
So you were like, how old when you were adopted?
I was 14. I had just turned 15 a month after I came.
Okay. So was
Yeah.
you under 18 when you went back to the orphanage? They wouldn't have took you over 18, would they, or did they?
You know what she tried to do?
You mean your
My
adoptive mother?
my adoptive aunt. My mother was in hospice. No one told me where she was. You know what? Those people brought us here, me here, and just that was it. I am not in contact with any of them. I tried to reach out to them. Essentially, on my papers, it will say why I'm in the country. I was adopted, so I'm legal here and I got everything, but I have no family, nothing. Sorry, what was your question? I'm going off.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just trying to see a timeline. Like, so you were adopted and like 14, and then like 3 years later, they sent you back to orphanage or no?
So yes, my adoptive aunt sent me back, for a visit. But what she tried to do was to get me to go to Haiti to stay there. But she had no power to do that because I was already a Canadian citizen.
So wait, so your adoptive mom had brain cancer. So her like sister or something
Sister.
decided to send you back to the
Yeah,
orphanage?
yeah. Because I went to live with her because I was still underage. And then she's like, oh, you should go visit. And so I went. And then that's when the molestation happened with the new director of that orphanage. And yeah, I ended up coming back and eventually I moved out. That's when I got pregnant at, I think it was 17, 18.
Not by
Uh,
the owner, right? By the orphanage.
no, no.
Okay, okay. So you went, so she sent you back to visit the orphanage, right?
Yeah.
And you got molested, and then what, you were dating or something while you were at the orphanage and got pregnant?
No, not at the orphanage I got pregnant, but I got pregnant after I came back to Canada. And
Did
after,
they bring you back or you just went back on your
oh,
own?
I came back. I mean,
Okay.
she had no power to just put me in Haiti with a citizenship. And I was adopted and all my papers and everything was done.
Now,
But
what were
that
your
was,
behaviors that was causing the adoptive family to reject you?
I think it was her behavior. I mean, some adults, they do have issues and they
Okay, so
somehow,
you weren't having behavior problems. She just like couldn't handle you. Could she handle your siblings?
no, no, she couldn't.
She couldn't handle them either.
She was just a miserable person.
I mean, obviously not. She put you all three in the freezer. So,
Oh, that was my adoptive mom, but the person I'm talking
right.
about is my adoptive aunt, her sister, her bio sister.
So you went to live with her sister, the adoptive
I
mom's
went to
sister.
live with her sister.
Gotcha.
Yeah, when my mom went to hospice, and
No, you
prior
say mom, you mean your adoptive mom.
my
She
adopted
went to
mom,
hospice. Okay.
yeah,
Did
but
she die?
prior to she did,
Okay.
yeah.
You're laughing.
No, because I just learned that death is such a beautiful thing, and I'm
Are you
able to
serious?
communicate.
Because you can be honest, because my biological mom died a month ago, and I'm telling you, I could spit on her grave.
You know who died that I could do the same? It's my bio father. He died in 2020. Sorry if I use he and she, it's the language. I'm trying
Oh,
to
I don't bother
translate
me
my
none.
word.
Hey, don't you? You don't have to
You
do
know,
that with
I do
me.
that to lots of people. He, she, it.
Oh
I'm
no, don't, not
like,
here.
okay, thank you. Yeah, I laugh because death is beautiful. She's not in pain anymore. I'm learning about death. Here's a new word I learned: death phobia. Death phobia. Have you heard of that word?
No, but I would
It's
think
like
everybody has
phobia.
a phobia of death.
Oh, some places are worse. In my country, I hate Halloween because being open and everything I would see, that's where it all will take place. And I don't know, it was, yeah. But now I have a bigger understanding of that there's no death. The body is gone, the spirit lives on. That fear has been removed, but that's what was ingrained in my spirit as a child, just to believe anything death is bad. I would just cringe. It's
What
bad,
are
but it's,
you? I'm curious.
what was that?
How old are you?
Can you guess?
I'm gonna say not yet 30.
Oh, too sweet, Peggy. I am 33.
Okay.
Yeah, people say I
The
look
older I
young.
get, the younger everybody looks. So
You're beautiful the way you are.
thank you. So how
You're
old are
welcome.
your kids?
My daughter is 13, and
Okay.
yeah, I got pregnant with her very young, and my son is 6.
So how did that, what'd you do? Because you have no family and you're pregnant. And you were what, 18?
I'm guilty. Yeah.
I was too. I got pregnant at 18 too.
Okay.
Had you
Okay.
finished school?
No. So the pregnancy happened because I rebelled. It's like I'm gonna my aunt when I lived with her, but I want to rewind a little bit. Before I moved in with my aunt, I used to live in foster care in the
Okay.
same city that my mom brought us, and my siblings were in foster care as well. And then I come to live with her after my mom was sick and went into hospice. And then she had all those rules: don't bring boys into my house. I didn't have much friends. I talked to people at school. She's like, don't get pregnant. I'm like, that's exactly what I'm gonna do.
Give me five, girl.
Like she, it just
Don't
changes
smoke? Well,
my
okay, that's what I'm gonna do.
it changes my perspective on parenting. Like I tell my daughter the absolute truths about what she needs to learn and know. I said, honey, some truths will hurt. It will be painful. It will cut you, but it's the truth. She's like, Mommy, you're so mean sometimes. I said, I am so sorry. There's no filter. I am teaching you. I had to teach myself. I had to parent myself. But yeah, I got pregnant very young, and it wasn't planned. I was in grade 11, just getting ready to get exams and things done. And I don't know, I was feeling tipsy, just nauseous and weird. My body was feeling weird. So I went to the doctor to get checked. And all the tests were done. And he's like, um, I'm like, just say it. He's taking a pause. How old are you? I told him my age. It's like, you're pregnant. And I just sat there, just froze. I'm like, come again? It's like, you're pregnant. And then that changed my whole world
Did he
and
suggest you get an abortion? Because when I was 18, I was homeless and my doctor suggested I get an abortion. And I said, don't you ever say that to me again.
yeah, he did. And I was by myself. I was feeling lost, no
And
family, no
what
friends.
happened to their oath of first do no harm?
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah. That
because you
was
have
the
two
first thing.
patients here. When you
Hmm.
walk in and you're pregnant and the doctor tells you you're pregnant, he now has two patients. She, whoever, they now have two patients.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you know whatever happened, first do no harm when they suggest
Hmm.
that.
Yeah, I remember that day like it was yesterday. I got referred to an abortion clinic. I never talked about this, Peggy. This is for you. um, I got referred to an abortion clinic and I walked in, and that energy there, I'm an empath, so I can soak up any energy. It felt like a war zone. I just walked into the clinic. Some people were crying, just sad. I checked in and then I walked out the door again. I sat somewhere at the entrance and I just sat there and wept. And it was a time I asked, where are you, God? Who are you? Like, what's going on? Why can't you help me? There's been many times in my life like that where I've asked, what's the meaning of this? What's the meaning of life? What should I do? But I sat there, it was hot. I remember I was nauseous, as very, very nauseous. And I just thought and thought and, pros and cons of keeping my daughter. And I said, I will keep her. I don't care if I die giving birth to her. I don't, I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm going to keep this child. I didn't go back in the clinic. I took a bus and I went home. Yeah. And she's my height. She looks like me. She's a miracle baby. And I believe that day when I was sitting where I was sitting, that was God speaking to me. Now I can see it and understand it as I've matured spiritually. Because she was born 2-3 pounds, and she was in the NICU for a while, a month or so, and she has asthma. Her lungs were not properly developed,
Was
but
she born early?
she was 2 to 3 pounds. She was 3 pounds.
I mean, how far along pregnant was you when she was born?
Yeah, I was 31 week or 29 weeks.
Wow,
And I was sick as a dog. I had severe preeclampsia with both of my kids.
goodness.
Um, yeah, they both had. I needed to have emergency C-section for both, and I was on meds. They were in the hospital, and I was in the hospital, like with tubes and other meds. Yeah, pregnancy doesn't look good on me, but yeah, yeah. But she's a
Did you
miracle.
have to get fixed because of the problems you've had?
Oh no, if anyone touches and try to fix me, I'll fix them first.
Good girl.
No, I don't believe in that. I think women being able to produce is a blessing and a gift from
It
God.
is.
And my heart goes out to anyone who do struggle with infertility. I'm sending them my love because it's very hard to go through that as a woman. Yeah. Mhm.
You're a strong person.
Thank you. I've been told. Yeah, I've been
So
told. Mhm. And yeah, with my daughter, I've battled custody issues. I was watching one of your guests, and she was talking, Loretta. She was talking about her journey and what she had to go through with custody, and that's also one thing that triggered my mental illness to start, because I got cut to, for this kid. I've been through so much, all the nausea and symptoms. I passed out once at work pregnant with her, but everything I've been through, and then all of a sudden she's taken from me. It was very hard at the time. Her dad took her. Um, yeah, it was hard.
who's dad? Your oldest daughter?
Yes.
Or-
Yeah. Yeah. At the
What?
time, it was her dad and her now wife who took her. I did everything I could to see her, and
How
they
old
re
was she when they did
she
that?
was a toddler, like 4 or 5, 6, right?
Why did they take her?
Yeah. So I had to split with him because there was cheating, and yeah, and they would pick her up kind of over time. I had time to see her, but at the time they took her from me and I didn't see her, and that's when my mental illness started. Um, to stay on the custody part is that I don't understand how someone you used to love can give you so much pain. And I know I'm not alone when it comes to custody battles. There are women, there are men, there are families that are going through very, very harsh situations that their kids have to see. And what happens to those kids when there's battles between mom and mom and dad created me? They don't love each other. Do they love me? What happens to those kids? And that's what my daughter had to deal with. And
My
I've
guess is that hurt you more than anything you went through growing up.
yes, it did. It cut me pretty deep, and it was
People don't
hard.
understand that. And, people can't talk about molestation, they can't talk about rape, but losing custody is something we absolutely feel shame
Hmm.
for.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. And the thing was, it was malicious. It wasn't because, oh, I'm sick, I'm not feeling well. I'll take care of her. It was that I'm gonna make sure you don't see her. You don't deserve her as a mother. You're sick. And
It's
throughout the
domestic
year,
violence, isn't it?
it is somehow they got away with it. And lots of people do. It's
Did you get her
verbal harassment.
back? Did you get her
Uh,
back?
I fought. I went through court up to this date. I just finished going to court. I fought for her for years and years and years and years. And there were harassment from them on social media. I had to
Oh,
change my number, my email, and I couldn't see her. They restricted her from me. And because my mental health started, they told her I was a psychopath, that I wanted to hurt her. I'm going to hurt myself. And they put that in court. They lied about it. So that's where my suicide attempt started,
I
was
understand.
because I came from nothing to nothing, and I had something. It was taken away from me. So that's when my mental health started, and I was in the hospital sometimes for a month, a few weeks. I just did not want to live without my child.
Is she 13 now, you say?
She is, yeah.
She will come back to you when
Oh,
she
I
turns
have her.
18. Oh,
No,
you
I
do?
have her. Yeah, yeah, I have
Okay,
her now. Yeah.
good.
Um, yeah, I worked on myself. I got help. Yes, I was in the hospital for quite a bit. That's something I also want to touch on is mental health. I am a huge, huge advocate for mental health because we can teach people from our experiences. Because I've experienced all these things, yes, I have the right to talk about them. Yes, I have the right to have opinions, and
Yes, you do.
absolutely have the right to help people. Some people may disagree, some may agree. I'm at the no care point. I was talking to someone, I said, I don't have any fuck left because I don't care what people think, right?
Good for
And
you.
I don't have it. I used to have a
It will
bucket of
kill you.
care.
It will kill you caring what people think.
It's toxic.
It
It's so
is.
bad. I just don't have any left.
Because you know more about you than anybody ever will.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah.
Nobody
Yeah.
has a right to tell you who you are
Hmm.
because you know.
Yes, I do. Yes. And when it comes to mental health, please stop being so judgmental to people that are suffering with it. Um, One thing that drove me to kill myself was that I was made fun of by them. I was told I was crazy. I was called all types of names. I mean, a psychopath. I can't even kill a fly, right?
People
All
go after the weak.
yeah, yeah,
I mean, you were strong, and something that broke your heart made you weak, and people pounce on the weak.
yeah. That's what happened for years and years and years, and then onto the hospital. Doctors wonder, why are you suicidal? Why the should I not be, right? Um, but
When
it
we
went
break, we break.
on and on and on and on. And I went to the court. I got restraining orders. It continued. I just still do feel let down by authority. Um, I've never
Authority
had,
sucks. They don't know what they're doing, and they have too much
yeah,
authority.
yeah, specifically police. I'm from a family of police. My dad was, my uncle is probably still in Canada, where he later moved, but I don't have a good relationship with them. They're amazing people. These people in uniforms, they are families, they're dads, moms, and they go home. It's not their fault that how I see them sometimes, totally not their fault. I've met some incredible, beautiful souls that are
But you've been hurt.
protecting. I've been hurt, and I don't know. As a child, even adult, I don't know. How do I protect myself? I put a wall, and I hurt, and I push people away. That's how I do it.
But you need your
Right?
voice. All you got right now, right, is your voice and
Oh,
your
yeah.
experience and
Mhm.
trying to help other people going through it that are
Mhm.
feeling alone.
Yeah, yeah. And
You got a podcast, right?
I do. I had a older podcast. I deleted it for the very reason people are saying, that's not good enough. You should stop. What are you saying? Like, I don't agree. And then, after I go through my spiritual awakening, I've just been getting in my mind, just start, I don't know, spread love somewhere, spread hope somewhere. I
You want
might
me to hook
have,
you up with Loretta? I bet she would be on your podcast.
yeah, I would love that. And I'd love
Okay.
to from hers as well. Hook me
Who,
up with
Chris?
anybody.
Who?
With
Who else?
anybody.
Oh, okay.
Anybody. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I just want to spread love and share my experience. And I'm diagnosed with schizophrenia. Okay. Schizophrenia, PTSD, anxiety, depression. I don't know what other
But you know
labels.
what? You're not those labels. I mean,
Yeah,
they
I don't
sit
know. Yeah.
there. I used to be a social worker at a mental hospital, and they sit there with this, and they got to fit you in a box so they can bill your
Hmm.
insurance. And so
Hmm.
that's how people get these labels.
Hmm. Yeah. And it's something I was very, very, very ashamed of and disgusted. And I felt like garbage.
I mean,
Based,
schizophrenia is basically you're paranoid, right?
yes.
And you got reason to be paranoid. I was in a sociology class at High University years ago, and I remember the first class he started talking, and he said something I never forgot. He said, talk about people that are schizophrenic. And he says, they think everybody's out to get them. He said, you know why? Because they are. That was
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
sociology professor.
Yeah. Yeah.
They
And
really are. They're trying to have them committed. They're trying to take their children. They're trying to take their check. All these people are after somebody, and they really are
yeah.
out to get them.
Yeah. Yeah. And the stigma that ties to it, it boils my blood because obviously all the trauma I've been through, everything I've been through, that's what caused everything to happen to me mentally. But I didn't ask for it, right? There are those people who it's their job, full-time job, their assignment to bring people down to their knees until they're nothing.
So
And
they can feel better about themselves.
yeah, yeah. And I'm out to get those people to speak, to bring hope to them, to open their eyes, to say, hey, I may be a different color. I bleed red. I have a heart. You do. And for some people, they need an awakening for it to happen. For me, I would not change a single hair on my head, anything about me. I wouldn't change my past because it made me who I am. And for those people who do that, they have their own trauma that they're not dealing with, their own hurt, because hurting people hurt people. Broken people want to break others. But if we reverse that and also not look too negatively on people who do that because they have a reason for doing that. If we love on them, if we hear them out, I find that people speak more than they listen. Sometimes I have nothing to say because I'm not being heard. And I know I'm not being heard sometimes, by different people I may talk to, right? And that's one thing I talk about on the podcast is instead of stigmatizing mental illness or whatever it may be, why don't you ask me, what is it like to live with it? How do I get by every day? How
So
do
what is
I
it like to live with it?
It's hell. I feel like I have one foot in hell, one foot in heaven. And sometimes the other foot goes to the other. It depends. I can be an angel or the opposite. but but I have outer body experiences. I don't understand why some people are trying to have that when I've been stuck that way. It is absolutely terrifying, to be honest. Um, it started years and years after my mental health started to happen. Um, yeah, I've been stuck that way, Peggy. As I'm talking to you right now, I am aware who I'm talking to. I know I'm in my house, but something's not right up there. I just feel disconnected from my body. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. I know what you mean. And
Okay.
I think maybe that's our psychic self. We have our physical body and we have our psychic, our soul self. And I think people that's lived through what you and I have, that we tend to live that way. because if trauma comes, it's not going to touch us because we're out here a little bit. And if something too hard happens, we can go out without even thinking about it. We can go out and I call the other side the land of all knowing, and we can tap into knowledge that's out there. Those psychic things that you say you're psychic. Yeah, I get that because we're a little bit on the other side, and that's where all that intelligence is. And that might sound really fruitcakey to a lot of people that don't know what you and I are talking about.
Oh, I'm making bets with anyone. They don't want to be in my head and body for a minute, not even a second, because it's terrifying. I've had to learn to live with it. I don't go downtown where I am often because I can hear everything. I can feel everything. At times it gets overwhelming where I have to create a safe space in my home and smudge and meditate and reconnect and ground myself. But I mean, kudos to people who's trying to have an outer body experience. It's interesting. But coming back to trauma, I saw a shaman a few months ago, and I'm like, what the F is wrong with me? What is it? I feel like I can see, but I'm blind. And he did his thing, and he did soul retrieval, and it's all from trauma.
You know, I would say embrace it, see it as a gift. Stop trying to push it away and fight it and see it as a problem, but embrace it because that is your superpower. Because that's what I've come to understand about myself. That is my superpower. Do not discriminate against it. Use it to your advantage.
Thank you. Someone told me that too, because you know how kids, when they're born open, people don't believe them. So over time, I shut everything off. Everything that wasn't in the physical 3D world was bad. That's what I was taught. I wasn't believed when I tell people, even up to this date, I would tell my sister, I saw mom last night, my deceased adoptive mom. Oh, I saw so and so, like, okay. And over time, she become open to it. But there are those people who make people like us feel nuts, especially with mental health issues. It's like,
that's why you stop giving a F what people think.
yes, it's a gift because it numbed everything, right? I'm numbed. I'm carefree. The feeling I have, I don't need to be on drugs to feel it because I naturally have it. I'm on drugs, but the medication stuff. Yeah. I told someone I'm on drugs. He's like, you don't look like it. Well, you don't know what type of drugs I'm on. Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's nothing wrong with keeping that anxiety at bay to where you can function, because we cannot function with a lot of anxiety, a lot of bad negative self-talk, suicidal ideation, all that stuff. For me, if I stay off caffeine, I can function, but caffeine makes me mentally ill.
You know what? Caffeine is, to me, it's not such a bad thing. In my country, kids have it like juice for breakfast, but you come here, it's like, ooh, don't drink coffee.
And some people can handle it. I'm just sensitive to everything. I'm sensitive to sugar, very sensitive to caffeine. I'm sensitive to people's perfumes that walk by at Walmart, So, I'm just sensitive to stuff. I really have to like baby myself.
Over time, I learned to kind of build for it, but yeah, I saw my doctor yesterday, and he's like, "How are you awake because of the medications I'm on?" I'm like, "I don't know. I have no choice. I take one in the morning and the other one's at night. They're very, very, very sedative." And you know what happened? My doctor, when I first started taking a new medication, I have spine and pain, just to help with the nerves. The medication I take, one of them, sometimes cancer patients take them to help with nerve pain. I don't know the medical word for it.
Yeah, like neuropathy.
It's gabapentin, I think.
Yeah, gabapentin.
Yeah. And the pharmacist, the first time I picked it up, there was no instructions on there on when to take it. I'm like, la la la, I'm so happy I have my new meds. I'm gonna take pop. I take one pill, and 20 minutes later, 10 o'clock in the morning, I'm like, whoa, a bit dizzy, and I was on the ground, and I just had to lay there
I
and
can't
just wait.
take that stuff. I can't take any of that stuff. I've tried different things to help with the PTSD anxiety, and I just had to learn with it because I'm too sensitive to the medication. I would be
Yeah,
driving and red light. Who cares? I'll go right through. Who cares? I mean, it had me so relaxed. I had no
yeah,
filter. Anybody be around, I would just say the truth about anything. And who cares?
yeah. Oh no, I had to be hospitalized to be on mine. They had to do it there, and then slowly I had to get used to it. That's how
What was
strong.
you like before you was hospitalized? Is that when you were suicidal?
Yeah, yeah, that was when I lost my daughter and all the social media cyberbullying, I don't know what they call it, but
Oh,
harassment. Yeah, yeah, that was when I just didn't want to be here anymore.
and
And
some of us that are strong, we go through life, we haven't healed, but that's just our life. And then we
mhm,
get a trauma like that.
yeah, yeah.
It's like the
And
straw that breaks the camel's back. Then nobody would know was even having a problem.
mhm, yeah, and I want to echo to people to please not judge people who have committed or tried to commit, or they have a reason, not that I'm advertising for that to happen, but people like me, they need support. They need people that can listen versus judging and talking. Hey, you're this, you're that. I've
And
had.
so many people's on medications now that nobody has a right to, judge anybody. I used to work Department of Human Services, and the guy at the health department see me one day and he says, "Hey, Peggy," he says, "how come everybody down at that agency is on mental health medication, stuff for anxiety?" And it's
I'd
because
be
my
like, how come you're
director
not?
was so scary. He's like, "Is
I'd
your
be like,
director that
yeah,
hard to work for?" Like, yep, everybody was on
yeah,
medication.
yeah, yeah. And there's also stigma around that, right? Uh, oh, you're on medication, so you're broken. Something's wrong with you.
Yeah, and when I was trying medication, one of my stepdaughters said she needs to get back on her meds. So I
Yeah.
thought, oh, because I'm trying a medication for anxiety and PTSD, I need to get back on my meds every time there's any kind of issue between us. It's going to be my problem that I'm not on medication. So
Hmm.
screw it. I'm not going on medication. I'm not, for me personally, because as
Yeah.
I could cut out the caffeine, I was okay. But
Hmm.
some people they do need it, so they need it, take it. But I couldn't
Hmm.
drive with taking anything.
Yeah, yeah. I couldn't even walk properly. Like, I had severe vertigo. I'm like, what kind of
Oh,
upside down world is this? Yeah, there are lots of symptoms that comes with being on medication, right? And I'm not against it. If people need medications, let them take it. Stop changing them, right?
yeah.
Just for them to get by and live. Everyone's trying to do their best. That's what I don't get. Uh, you know, all of us have our own crap we deal with, our burdens, and we all
And there's
have a,
other people to judge, other people that's taking medications. I mean,
yeah, yeah, all of us have a history. It's just that some of us are brave enough to face our past and history and deal with it and heal, whereas others are terrified of it and judge those who heal from it, who are trying to heal from it, right?
sometimes I think those of us that tell us to be quiet are actually perpetrators themselves and
Hmm.
want all victims to just be quiet. Want us all to think that we shouldn't talk about it because maybe they've done something. They're afraid their victim will come forward.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. And as a victim and many others who have experienced similar things is to not be quiet, to speak and to use your voice, to use your experience and your wisdom to help other people. Because when we're quiet, when we close in, which is what I've done for most of my life, I've given those people who've hurt me, manipulated me, abused me, I've given them power because they can see that what they've done has worked. But when we stand up tall and embrace our brokenness, the challenges we've faced or probably currently facing, that's when we blossom. And I've always tell people, when you're blossoming, it's gonna hurt. That's my motto in the podcast I do. Healing together, and knowing that healing hurts, it's gonna hurt. And some people don't like the pain of it, but they want the result of healing. But you got to go through it.
Yeah.
All the way. You got to go through it.
Yeah. And you know, I can't handle people that want to sit around and not be real, not talk about anything real, anything about real emotions, or they just want to talk about their new house, their new car, or their job, or so materialistic. I'm sitting there completely blank and bored, you know, and I talk to somebody like you, and I'm like, okay, let's be real.
Yeah.
Let's talk, let people talk if they're hurt. And I cringe when I see on Facebook when people say, "Oh, stay away from drama. Don't go around negative people." I'm like, what? You don't want to get your hands dirty? You don't want to feel compassion? You don't want to give a shoulder to cry on? You don't want to give the shirt off your back? I mean, really? Are you that perfect that you only want to surround yourself with perfect people that only talk about perfect things like getting their car and their house and their job? You know, no, because that bores me to death. I want to know what's really going on.
Mm-hmm. You know what?
So
I plug in my phone. You know what one of my superpowers are? It's to see through people. I don't know. As an empath, I'm psychic. I can see through. Don't have to go around the mountains for me to see what's behind it. I'm like, I have ton of vision. I can see, right? And it's those people that makes it hard for others to heal, because they're not willing to heal themselves, and therefore no one else should heal.
yeah,
Where's
I say find your tribe, you know, find people that you can communicate with and relate with, and feel better when you're done talking to them, not feel like finding a room.
yeah, I agree. Yeah, this is
So
so fun. Thank you for letting me share. I haven't died, but I feel dead sometimes, right? Death means something to everyone. I've had spiritual deaths and physical deaths, even though um, it may not be an experience like a death experiencer. So I'm just grateful that you let people like me share and talk, and conversation like this. There's magic and healing happening through it. While it's happening, it's going to help other people as well.
yeah, because you know,
Mhm.
where can you go really to be real or hear people that are talking about real problems? And you
Mhm.
know, I'm thinking about having more people on like you, because I'm honestly getting bored with
Mhm.
some near-death experiencers that just want to come on and portray this perfect story. And there's just some of them just cold as ice. I feel like they're not putting their guard down at all. They're not being
Mhm.
real. They're trying to sell something. They're using me to sell their product. A lot
Mhm.
of people nowadays are saying they had a near-death experience just to sell their crap.
Yeah. Mm.
Empath, and you see through people. Of course, I'm not going to name names. I'm not going to say who,
Mm.
but it doesn't mean I don't see it, and I don't know.
Mm. Yeah. I
And
I
it's getting to be a lot of bullshit.
I definitely understand where you're coming from, and just your frustration with it, because I think we seek authenticity. And where is it these days? It's very hard to find, people who can fully open up their dirty and clean laundry and separate it or put it together and help others with it. Um, yeah, I'm excited I reached out, but other resources I tried to look into, they had to have a near-death experience. But I've never had that. I've seen the other side. I've
And
seen
I
angels.
appreciate your honesty.
Yeah, I've never been what they call dead here. I've had many visions. They are real. Um, let's see. The first one I had was probably over a year ago. I would see purple light and I saw the feet of Jesus. Um, and all those visions, or um, my friend who's a medium helped me clarify them. I'm like, am I, is it mental? Is it real? I've known her for a very, very, very long time. And she helped me separate reality, visions, past lives, and so on. So I saw the feet of Jesus, and he does wear sandals.
Was it during time of trauma that you saw it?
That was last year. It was during a time of trauma, a breakup, and sexual harassment at the time, and I don't know. I was trying to find what the meaning of life was. I don't know. I'm like, why am I here? Because I can't work because of health issues and many other things. Like, why? So I got some answers, and my first vision, seeing Jesus' feet. And I asked my friend who's a medium, why his feet? Why not, a smile or anything else? In the Bible, somewhere it says, come at the feet of Jesus, because I never felt loved. I didn't even love myself at one point. How can I feel it if I don't have it? How can I give it if I don't have it? So that was the very first vision I saw. His white sandal, it was so bright, I couldn't look up. But that was the meaning of that vision, that to come at his
Seeing
feet.
Jesus' feet is still seeing Jesus. There's nothing to
Yes.
sneer at, right?
Yes, I did. And it was incredible. And my next one, I saw an angel. Um, that was my first time seeing one. It looked like a bat. Yes, it did have wings. Maybe it's my 3D eyes while I saw it. I'm like, oh my gosh. Should I be scared or yay? It was beautiful, peaceful, and it was Archangel Uriel who came to visit me. And his job is, to reignite life and meaning and passion. And from that visit, that's what I felt. It was just incredible and very surreal. And yeah, my awakening started last year. Um, trauma brought it on. It wasn't blessings that brought it on. I've had enough trauma for that to happen, and that's one reason it can happen. But I was very scared when it first started, because I went through the dark night of the soul. It is dark. They have the right name for it. I felt frozen. I felt cold. I felt hot. And I was extra paranoid. I felt paralyzed in fear. And my anxiety was so bad. Now, night sweats, all of it. And I would hear whispers. It was
Okay.
just, yeah, just my ego disconnecting from this and from all the trauma. It's like a rebirth. But that one was extra hard, and I'm still going through it. I'm doing better, but that one was very, very hard. And I know I'm not alone for those who've been through so much trauma. It it's painful. Healing hurts. It's like ripping off a bandage. You can take it off slow or just rip it off. But it was a beautiful, terrifying night that changed my life forever. And from that night, it was my birthday. I'm just looking at my dream journal here. It was my birthday. There was a younger male, like, he was in my face like this. I could see out, my body was sleeping, but I could see, I knew what was happening. I couldn't move. And he was just looking. And I asked my friend, who dares come to my face that close when I'm sleeping? And I found out it was a brother that I lost as a baby. And that was completely removed from my memory. The next day, I messaged my birth mom in Haiti. I said, Mom, do I have a brother that passed? She's like, yeah, how did you know? How did I not know? Because no one told me. My siblings have memories of him, but I don't. It's like, I felt betrayed, just not knowing. I don't
How
know
did he
why.
die?
As a baby, it was, I think, witchcraft, all that bougie stuff people do.
He died from witchcraft?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like who was into witchcraft? Your mother or?
No, sometimes. I don't know the extent of the story. I don't know why it's removed from my memory until my birthday. But he was sick and and passed. That's what I was told. But yeah, that he was the first person that I saw. And something that's unique about me, my friend said, is that I'm able to see spirits like people, like real people. So I'm like, I told her, who was this young man in my room looking at my face? She's like, it's your brother. Since then, I telepathically communicate with him, and yeah, yeah. Um, and I've seen the part of what they call the other side, which there are different levels to it. We're in the 3D, and I know there's 4D and many different levels, but I saw my adoptive mom. She was telling me to come in the vision I had, and I closed my eyes because I was so terrified.
You didn't want to
Like,
see her, did you?
I didn't see her, I haven't seen her face
But I
yet.
mean, did you want to?
Um,
Somebody stuck me in a freezer and I don't know. I don't want to see him
yeah,
again.
yeah, over the years, there's been a lot of healing that has been done between me and her. By the
Okay.
way, I'm the only one who doesn't hate her. Um, because I saw where she was coming from. I
Your
feel that I
siblings
have,
hate her?
oh yeah, I'm the only one who kept my adoption name just to honor her because I know her more in death than when she was in the physical, if that makes sense. Just last week, she touched my feet because I was feeling so overwhelmed with anxiety and life. And she touched my feet. And I asked,
Now I have to ask you something. Will this video hurt your custody? Will like they use this against you? Anything you say in this?
no,
Okay,
uh,
I just want to make sure. Do you know what I
no,
mean? Like, because I
no.
know some people be like, okay, here's the evidence. She's crazy. She's talking about her dead mother touching her feet, or you know what I mean?
Oh yeah,
Because some
no,
people,
no, no.
okay,
I'm past that point, Peggy. I
okay,
don't give a crap what people think, right? I'm telling my
okay.
story. And right. And that's what I mean with spiritual awakening and mental illness. It's like, you know,
Because I
when
had that happen like a year ago. I had a guy on, and his brother contacted me and said he was using the interview I posted on my podcast in court to show he's crazy, so he couldn't get the parents' inheritance.
oh wow. You know what?
And I thought they won't use this against you, right? Like,
If my ex did that, that probably would be the death of me because I would collapse and laugh
yeah,
until
I just didn't want anything to be used me to help him in any way.
no, no,
Okay.
no, no. I help myself and I help those who allow me to, but no. I have custody of my daughter now, full custody. There's
Okay.
at this point with everything I've been through, there's nothing anyone can say or do to diminish me. I've grown, I've withered through many storms. I know who I am.
I just didn't want like them to use this in court against you.
Yeah, I appreciate you
Because I
asking.
get everything you're saying. I identify with everything you're saying, but I know when you have somebody out to get you like that, and there's been a custody problem and what you've been through.
Oh yeah, yeah. I appreciate you checking, but yeah, it shouldn't be a
Okay.
problem.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, people will always have what they want to say. Um, they always have something to say.
Because I
Yeah.
fostered 50, I fostered 60 kids and we adopted 10. And I see things like you do. So, I don't want people to think that means that she's crazy, because if you are, I am.
You know
Then
what?
come cut me off too. I don't care. I need vacation.
Yeah, I haven't shared my spiritual awakening with anybody. I mean, close friends and some family. My mom really understands what I'm seeing. She believes it. My sister, sorta. Like, but my purpose in having my mind open is not to get validation of how I use my gift, right? That applies to anybody else. If you have a gift, you believe in the gift. The gift is bearing good fruit. It's helping other people. Why look for validation when you are the validation, when you can use what you have to help people?
And a
But
lot
it
of people have these spiritual experiences and are afraid to talk about it because they don't want people thinking they're crazy.
yes,
And we all can't be crazy because we have spiritual experiences, you
yeah,
know.
it's been a year and a half. This is the first time I'm opening up publicly about it. I don't even talk about that on my podcast yet. I don't. My friend who's a medium, I talk to her all the time, back and forth between different visions or what I'm seeing. And other than that, that's my first time because for that very reason, people will say you're crazy. It's not true. It's not real. But I know what I've seen. It's real. I felt it. Yeah. Mhm.
Okay. Is there anything else you'd like to share? Have we covered everything?
Um, yeah, I think, let me see. Yeah, I think we've covered quite a bit. Sorry. Oh, I'd like to share obviously about my podcast if people want to check it
Okay.
out. I'll send you the information.
Okay.
And yeah, I have an art page. I paint and do different paintings. And I think painting has helped me in so many ways. Yeah, I would share to people is to spread light, to spread love, to spread hope, and to authentically live in this world and to shine their light and to follow their dreams because there will be those who will crush their dreams before they even think it. And to have thick skin, we all need it to survive. But to find meaning in life, to find purpose, and to help others heal, because I feel that that's my mission. Is to help others heal any
Yeah.
type of healing. Because I've lived it, I've been through it, I can help people with it.
And we
And
know that healing doesn't come from burying it and keeping it quiet and holding it in.
mhm. And to accept people as they are instead of trying to change them to be who they want them to be, right? Because all of us are so unique, so beautiful. Um, we all of us are light. All of us are made in God's image. And I know the very hands and tongue that we use to bless is the very tongue that we use to curse. I would advise people to use their gifts and abilities, their tongue, their mind for good and to help other people. Mm.
Yeah. You said something earlier about like there being two sides of you. You know, there's a really good side, and then we can have a really
Oh, they
bad
call
side.
it, yeah.
I'm the same way, and I think we all are. But I think a lot of people just don't like to admit to their
Mhm.
bad side.
Yeah, well,
And
in psychology, they call it split mind. I'm like, no, my mind is not split. I can put my mind together if I want to. But yeah, the shadow side, that's a spiritual word, term, the shadow aspect. It's just me making friends with my shadow self. I am human and I have weakness and I probably made dumb decisions, but hey, I've learned from those. It's to embrace the shadow and bring in the light to it as well. Yeah, and to stop judging people. Especially those with mental health. Make them feel tall, beautiful, proud,
have you
and
done anything about the orphanage, like contacting people and letting them know what goes on?
you mean me contacting the people at the orphanage?
Or who
No,
runs it?
because it runs by the second guy that touched me.
But
So I,
doesn't, like, who holds his license? Like, if you knew, like, who, I mean,
yeah,
still, there should be people to be able to do investigations or hold these people accountable.
Yeah, that's the thing with some countries, there are more restrictions. I find particularly with
Haiti, no.
Haiti, people go there and do all kinds of crap. They can pick up kids and do whatever with them to an extent.
What
There
about the
is,
people
uh,
that donate money? Think this is a good thing,
you know what happened, Peggy? My brother was just telling me a few months ago, during the earthquake in Haiti, the recent one, there was a bunch of food stored and the food went bad. There was bugs and stuff in it. It wasn't given to the people who need it. It wasn't. And people donated money. They did different things. It just wasn't. I mean, don't
I
get
even
me
seen
wrong,
that
that.
here in 2010, there was a tornado just a few miles up our road, and we donated a whole truckload of clothing, and and the human services where I used to work, the guy came and I stood there and watched him put it in a storage building.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, this is for the people affected here. And he went and got it all and put it in a storage building and gave it to Salvation Army that was taking it somewhere else. And so the news cameras come and I walked up. Of course, they never put it on the news, but I
No.
walked up and I gave them crap because I'm like, hey, everybody donated a bunch of stuff. It wasn't just me. Even the hardware store donated a bunch of stuff. And they go and they stick it in that building. The Salvation Army comes and they drive away with it.
Mm-hmm.
This was been for this community.
Mm-hmm. That's the thing. The news only put out what it wants to. There's more good in the world that is happening than bad. Yes, there is bad, but the good always outweighs the bad. The good always outweighs the bad. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, they just don't put out what they need to. They don't always do it. But yeah, it would be hard to have him held accountable for what he did to kids. But I do know one of them did pass. The first guy that was there when I was a kid from the orphanage. Um, he's dead. Well, alive, dead.
But then you were gone a few years to come back and the new people were
Yeah,
bothering
nothing
the
had been.
kids.
Yeah, yeah.
So they
And
just need some kind of something in place to where kids are talking to someone to where these things happen that they have be heard.
yeah, and this is happening in wealthy countries as well. Like I said, I was in the foster care system. There were abuse there. Um, we nobody believed us that there was.
Well, you
They
know why? Because when it's a foster care, we had adopted kids that were back in the foster care system for a couple of months, and nobody would hear do investigations on what was happening in foster homes because that's them. They are run by the state, and that's like investigating themselves.
Mhm, mhm.
And they only want to try and find fault with us because they want to recycle the kids back in the system because they could get money and basically reselling them is what they're
Yeah,
doing.
yeah, yeah. Because I had to switch different foster homes. I had to, and I just want to say one last thing, and then we can wrap. It's about sexual abuse. It happened to me as a kid, throughout my life and recently, is that for women who have gone through that, it takes a lot of courage, a lot of nerve, and a lot of strength for them to open up to say to one person. If you know someone who's going through that, who's been through that, please wrap them in your love, wrap them in your light, and listen to them. Speaking is okay, but they'll know when you listen to them. It's a heart connection they'll feel. It's not a word connection. And to also work on destigmatizing and making women feel small and ashamed for what happened to them, because that's what we do. We blame ourselves for what someone else's did. That's their action. It's not our fault. So I want to just say that to anyone who's been through that or going through that. I'm going through it and I'm still receiving, therapy and other things. It's not easy. Yeah.
Yeah. And we know too much.
Mm.
We know too much. We know more than what people can handle hearing. When
Yes.
lived through a lot, it's more than most people can handle, or do they want to handle. And we have
Mhm.
to recognize that sometimes it's not their fault if they can't hear it. It's just they've never experienced a day of what we have in our life.
Mhm. Mhm.
And people are wrapped up in their materialistic world, and we're not going to change them. But if we keep telling, and then we'll eventually find someone that can be a shoulder for us.
Mhm. I agree. And yeah, I agree. And just to have training to train healthcare professionals, or train your worker, people in your business, and whatever else you do, wherever you are at, be an inspiration, be a change, and support and help people.
Yeah. And I hope, that's what we're doing with our podcasts, is you're talking about things that people can't talk about anywhere else or think about anywhere else. And just to hear that you weren't alone. This happened to other people too. Other people are still struggling with it. And it doesn't stop when the abuse stops.
Nope, does sometimes it follows us to the grave.
Yeah. Like I
And
say, I'm
I, yeah,
62, and some days I still feel like I'm right back there,
yeah,
feeling like,
mhm. But
why did this happen? What could have I done differently? Too late to tell now, and
yeah,
the statute of limitations, to do something legally. Not saying everybody wants to, but the statute of limitations are up,
mhm,
and you waited too long to say anything.
mhm. And yeah, some of us blame society, but we are society. We choose what happened. When it comes to changing laws and regulations, and it takes all of us to make change, for change to happen. It takes every single one of us.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's what we're doing. Thank you.
And anybody that's going through it now, pick up the phone and report it.
Hmm. Yes.
Because I think that's probably you. I'm going to assume as much regret is that we didn't report it sooner, when something could have been done. And now we're going to spend decades now wishing that we could have done something at the time,
Hmm.
because there is statute of limitations, and in each day something passes, wasn't reported, there's less chance anything can get done to help anybody else not go through it. Because like you say, happened to you, you come back years later, and now there's new owners, but it's still going on.
It is. It is. And people should use their pain as a message to the world, essentially, and to not. I've lived in the victim mentality for a very long time, up to recently, actually. Poor me, this happened, but I happen to it as well, and I can change it. And just understanding how much power we have over ourselves, and understanding that we can block people from having certain amount of powers over us, that we own ourselves, we are ourselves. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
All right.
there's a storm here. I'll let you go, Peggy, if you
Okay,
have to go.
thank you. All right. I'll
Thank you
talk to
so
you
much
later.
for your time.
Uh-huh. Bye.
Okay.